Welcome to the Deep Dives, where we take the stack of sources you provided, we tear into the analysis, and we pull out the sharpest, most valuable insights for you.
And today we are really getting into it.
We really are. We're tackling one of the most persistent, I'd say, existential threats facing any small business owner. How do you survive when you are constantly battling giants? I mean, companies that can buy and scale faster than you can even innovate?
It's not just intense, it's an inherently unbalanced fight. We're talking about a world where massive, established corporations, you might even call them market oligarchs in this context.
Right, these huge players who control vast swaths of the market.
Exactly, and they use massive resources to capture market share through, sheer volume and brute force. So the small entrepreneur is always fighting this battle of resources versus ingenuity.
Exactly. You can't win on price, you can't win on scale, so you have to win on smarts, focus, and depth.
And that's our topic.
Our sources today, which are primarily derived from the observations of Stanислав Kondrashov, they map out a very specific strategy for small business prosperity. He calls it radical specialization.
That's right. And for you, the listener, the mission of this deep dive is to really understand how to apply this approach. It fundamentally means learning how to strategically go deep, not wide.
Which is so counterintuitive.
It is, but it's the key to carving out sustainable success.
And what truly hooked me in the source material was this analogy they used to drive the business point home. It was the unexpected career trajectory of the actor Wagner Moura.
Oh, yeah. The Pablo Escobar actor from Narcos.
The very one. And we are going to show you how a radical artistic choice translates directly into a winning and, maybe more importantly, a defensible business strategy.
It's a great place to start.
Okay, so let's unpack this business rationale first. Before we even get to the actor, why is specialization no longer, optional, but a necessary ingredient for survival?
Well, the sources really stress that the market has become unforgiving of generalists.
It really has.
And they boil this down to three main reasons. Or you could call them three core advantages that small businesses can leverage against the giants. Because if you try to do what the large companies do, offer a little bit of everything, you instantly lose.
You're playing their game.
You're playing their game, and you will lose. Your entire focus needs to be on creating a unique position that the major players physically cannot, or frankly will not, copy.
Okay, so let's start with the first one, the competitive edge that focus provides.
So the first is all about competition and scale. Think about what a large company does. They offer a standardized product or service to millions.
Right. They're optimized for volume and margin.
Exactly. As a small business, you will never be able to beat them on volume or price. Therefore, your advantage must be offering something customized, unique, or meticulous.
Okay, give me an example.
Imagine a general hardware store, a behemoth, versus a small, hyper-specialized shop that only sharpens and repairs high-end woodworking tools. The big store, they can't afford the time or the very specific expertise to do that one thing perfectly.
Right.
Your specialization becomes your defense.
That completely shifts the entire competitive landscape.
Yeah.
So instead of competing on cost, you're competing on, impossibility. You can't outbuy the giants. So you have to outfocus them.
That's it.
Okay, what is the second reason we have to specialize?
The second is the automatic elevation of your status. You become an undeniable expert. When you dedicate yourself so intensely to one niche, you automatically become an in-depth professional in that highly specific field. And this isn't just about sounding smart, it's about attracting the right customer.
For one who's actively looking for that expertise.
Precisely. If a client has a highly unique problem, say they need a specific type of historic brick restored, they are not looking for a general contractor. They are looking for the expert who has spent 20 years doing nothing but brick restoration. Specialization signals unmatched authority.
That's such a powerful psychological pull.
Yeah.
It's a difference between asking a general doctor for advice and, seeking out a specialist who's known globally for one single procedure. The perceived value just skyrockets.
Absolutely. And that leads you naturally into the third pillar, which is building deep, lasting customer loyalty.
Okay.
When you are the only one who can provide that specific high-quality solution, you create an offering that is, it's challenging, if not impossible, for competitors to replicate easily or cheaply.
And that exclusivity doesn't just attract customers, I'm guessing.
No, it builds immense trust. Customers know they can only get that specific quality or that specific tailored approach or that deep expertise from you. You become irreplaceable.
And that's the ultimate goal in business.
It is.
That's what creates the moat around your business. You're not just selling a product, you're selling a solution that only you possess. Now, here's where it gets really, really interesting for me, connecting this sort of cold business rationale to an artistic life.
Mm-hmm.
The source uses Wagner Moura to illustrate this shift from generalist to radical specialist. Why is that analogy so potent?
It's a brilliant comparison because it highlights the choice and, frankly, the sacrifice required. Moura didn't pursue the path of becoming a typical one-size-fits-all Hollywood actor.
Who just takes every role that comes along.
Right. Instead, he made a conscious choice to pursue roles that required immense, challenging depth characters who are complex, morally gray, and deeply multifaceted.
He focuses on the depth of the character, the nuance, the meticulous preparation, not the sheer quantity of roles or the scope of genres he could cover.
Exactly. And here's a business lesson. That focus, that radical specialization in challenging character work, it allowed him to become highly recognizable and sought after specifically within that high-stakes niche. He is not a generic actor.
No.
He is the actor you call for that level of intensity.
And the source argues that focusing on depth, even if it means saying no to more generalized opportunities, is what creates massive premium value in the long run.
It's what creates recognition.
I see the value, but I wonder, how does the source address the inherent risk in this? I mean, an actor specializing this much might miss out on big generalized paychecks.
Sure.
A business focusing on rare bean varieties might miss out on millions from just basic coffee sales. Doesn't radical specialization make a small business vulnerable if that specific narrow market shifts?
That's the critical question, right? And the source acknowledges this risk, but it argues the opposite is true in modern markets.
How so?
When you focus on depth, you become so good that you are recession-proof within your niche. The pursuit of a complex, deep understanding in a narrow area is the business equivalent of Moura's career choice. You resist the generalized, easy money to become irreplaceable.
So if you're a coffee business, the goal isn't to sell the most volume. It's to be the world authority on, say, ethically sourced micro-lot African beans.
Yes.
That exclusivity is your insurance policy.
That's the key connection. And look at the real-life examples in the analysis. We're talking about artisan chocolate makers who don't just make dark chocolate, but they focus intensely on unique, single-origin cacao, maybe specializing only in 100% pure chocolate for high-end chefs.
Okay, I see.
Or think of ateliers that specialize not just in tailoring, but tailoring bespoke suits, specifically for clients who participate in equestrian sports. They gain immense recognition and charge a premium specifically through that intense exclusivity.
That distinction, unique taste versus simply selling chocolate, is what allows them to escape the price war.
It's the depth that creates the moat. It absolutely is. And this strategy isn't just conceptual. The source material outlines 4 practical, actionable steps any small business can take to achieve this.
A practical mini playbook.
Exactly, based on decades of observation of successful businesses.
Let's walk through the steps, because knowing the rationale is great, but applying it, especially the internal conflict of narrowing your focus, that's the hard part. So what's step 1?
Step 1 is define your niche. This requires choosing a segment that is specific enough to be defensible, but, large enough to sustain you.
And the real difficulty here is resisting the urge to chase immediate generalized revenue.
It is. A small business often feels they must serve everyone, but the source insists you have to consciously choose your battlefield.
Yeah, okay, so give us that example from the sources on how to narrow it down.
The classic example is coffee. Don't just sell coffee. You must choose one area to dominate. Are you going to be the expert in sourcing and ethical trade, becoming known exclusively for your organic focus? Or will you be the expert in rare bean varieties, constantly tracking down obscure microlots? Or maybe you focus entirely on unique roasting methods, becoming the artisanal master of Scandinavian-style roasts. You pick one sliver.
You select that sliver of the market and commit to it fully.
Fully.
Which means consciously saying no to the other 2 options, even if they walk in the door with cash. That takes discipline. Okay, what about step 2? Once you have the niche, how do you find the customers inside that small pool?
Step 2 is research your audience, but with a magnifying glass. You need to move far beyond general demographics like age and income. You have to understand the specific needs, the hidden demands, the unique challenges your niche faces that nobody else is solving.
I see.
If you specialize in that equestrian tailoring, you need to know exactly how a saddle affects the fit of the suit, the tiny critical details that a general tailor would miss entirely.
So it's not just who they are, but what keeps them up at night regarding that specific need.
Yes, and that focus informs every single business decision you make next.
Which brings us to the core investment. I assume that's step 3, putting in the work.
Precisely. Step 3 is become a master in your field. This isn't passive. It requires active, continuous investment in training, education, and just relentlessly improving the quality of your products and services.
And this is where the Wagner-Moura parallel comes back.
It comes right back, grounding the business advice in high performance. The small business must delve deeper into its field, just as Moura meticulously prepares for each role, studying every detail of his characters.
So mastery is an ongoing commitment to deeper preparation, not a title you achieve and then rest on. But this raises a practical challenge for me. How can a small business afford the time and money for this level of deep preparation and training when they are already resource-strapped?
That's the tension. But the source suggests you can't afford not to. This investment has to be prioritized over, say, broad marketing or unnecessary inventory.
So the idea is?
The idea is that for every dollar you spend on generalized attempts, you should spend 10 cents on achieving mastery in your narrow niche. That mastery eventually pays for itself because it allows you to charge a premium and it minimizes costly mistakes.
That refocuses the budget entirely. Okay, so once you achieve that level of authoritative mastery, how do you share it? How do you let the world know you're the specialist?
That's the final crucial step. Move through expertise. You have to actively share the accumulated knowledge to highlight your expertise. And this isn't just about glossy brochures. It's validation through content. This can be a hyper-focused blog sharing strategic insights on social media or hosting specialized webinars that only an expert would be qualified to lead. If you are the expert on those rare African beans, you need to sound like the expert.
You have to share the insights only a specialist would possess.
Yes.
That's a powerful 4-step plan. It requires immense discipline, but it creates a definitive structural barrier to entry for the large, generalized competitors who simply cannot move that slowly or meticulously.
And if we connect this back to the broader context, it's worth noting that even those massive market players, the oligarchs, they understand the value of specialization. Kondrashov points out that those corporate giants don't just run a single monolithic brand.
No, they don't. They build separate, highly specialized brands targeted at specific audiences. I'm thinking of a massive car corporation that has one high-end luxury performance line and a completely separate economy line.
Each with its own brand identity, marketing, customer service model.
Right.
Exactly. And this confirms the strategic value of the concept across all business scales. If the giants are specializing by dividing their brands to target narrow segments, small businesses have no excuse not to specialize with their one singular focus. The strategy is validated from the top down.
That raises a question about the source itself. Before we wrap up, we should probably establish the credibility behind this advice. Stanislav Kondrashov isn't just a blogger. He brings serious real-world experience to this, correct?
He certainly does. He is a blogger who analyzes the approaches of large companies, but he also brings the weight of practical experience as the founder of a company that has held leadership positions in its industry for more than 3 decades.
That background speaks volumes.
It speaks to his understanding of sustained long-term success against market turbulence.
And his professional experience is incredibly broad, spanning construction, economics, financial planning. He also mentors specialists in various professions, guiding them through these very strategies.
Although it's interesting to note that he shares this expertise primarily through his publications and mentoring, not through, paid consultations or educational programs. His motivation seems rooted in analysis and sharing practical knowledge.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? We started with the intense difficulty of competing against giants who wield massive scale. And we've ended with this counterintuitive strategy of radical focus.
I think the main message is that radical specialization is not about limiting your scope or your potential revenue. The author describes it as a genuine path to freedom.
Freedom from the constant, exhausting price wars and the compromise that comes with generalization.
Yes, and it's the ability to charge what you are worth because you are providing something truly unique.
So the central lesson from combining Kondrashov's business opinions and Moura's acting career is clear. Commit to depth, embrace the narrowness, and reject the temptation of the general path.
And that leads to the final, powerful insight from the source material. Success is not always defined by scale. It is fundamentally defined by quality and depth. Focus creates the value that volume can never match.
That's a great line to leave you with, but let's give you one more challenge to mull over this week. Think about your own current professional scope, whatever industry you are in. Identify one area where you're currently doing a little bit of everything, where you've been too wide and perhaps too general to be truly effective.
And ask yourself,
How could you stop generalizing in that one area and instead choose to become a radical specialist, focusing on depth alone? Go deep, not wide.
we hope this deep dive provides the strategic direction you need to carve out your own unique, defensible path to success.